Our next speaker is a friend of the conference, and he's been to the pre-party a few times. And actually, I don't even think he needs a lot of introduction. He's going to do it all himself. Here's Hanno Embrecht.
Forgot your laptop. Yeah. Need some time setting up. Sorry about that.
Maybe I should just crack more bad jokes.
Yeah, I'm open to that. No problem. A bit of logistics here and there, right? There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold. What's next, Joy of Coding? And she's buying a stairway to heaven. Wow, I'm really impressed. I was really counting on having to ask you, are you awake, Joy of Coding? But you are already awake. Thank you for that. Really makes my experience so much better. Thanks. Thanks. So it looks like most of you know at least part of the lyrics by heart. Well, I do as well, luckily, because I have to in order to do this talk right. But you know who also knows Stairway to Heaven by heart? Anakin Skywalker. Any Star Wars fans in the room? Woo! Me also. Probably wondering right now, is this canon or extended universe? I've never heard about it, right? Well, he knows the lyrics. Oh, yes, he does. I guess it's one of those abilities some consider to be unnatural. I know the lyrics to Stairway to Heaven by heart. Oh, knowing those lyrics doesn't make you a better software developer, right? Right? Well, Padme is not convinced that this ability makes Anakin a better software developer, and that's where she is mistaken. But we will discover why further in the talk. Though when you think about it, the ability to learn lyrics by heart is not as unnatural as Chancellor Palpatine seems to think back there, because you don't even have to be a Sith or a Jedi to be able to do it. Just as humans, mere humans, you and I, we can all do it. We have the remarkable ability to remember song lyrics a lot better than just plain text. And I think we've experienced this all from time to time. I'll use an example, because I have used this phenomenon in my middle school days to memorize the gritty details of a course by writing little songs with my own lyrics to it, and they helped me immensely. For example, I had an economics class, and we had to learn which countries would switch to the euro currency in the year 2002, and I kept forgetting a few of them. Not any longer after I memorized this song. Euros, they're a new big thing on our continent. Euros, if you don't get them, you won't be glad. Euros, Finland is one of them. Euros, Italy's joining in. France was a part of it. Luxembourg's also in. The Dutchies will get them too. Euros, Belgian francs are through. Whoa. Euros, if you like trading, they will be key. Euros, they will be released by the ECB. Euros, shillings have been replaced. Pesetas have gone to waste. Marken zien al voorbij. Drachmas will say goodnight. Oh, the same goes for Irish pounds. And the kudos no longer count. Euros. Yeah, so I did this in middle school already, but in fact I've even done this recently. So last year I studied for the OCP Java Developer 11 certificate, and I couldn't quite remember the data types that are allowed in a switch statement in the Java language. So I wrote another song. Yeah, I just wrote another song to help me remember. Do I have to tell the story of the many rules that go with the switch case? Not all data types are valid, so here are the ones you really should embrace. Strings and enums work quite well, no problem. Bytes and chars and shorts and ints do too. The wrapper classes fail, so we can't use them, and other data types will not go through. I don't know why, but songs by the Police just tend to work really well. Maybe we should call them the study police from now on. So songs help you remember stuff. But is this actually worth the trouble? I mean, each time you have to remember a few things, you have to start by looking up another song by the Police that you haven't used yet, right? And come up with lyrics that capture the thing you want to remember and also be able to make it rhyme, because apparently that helps with the remembering. That sounds like a lot of work. So I was thinking, what if this phenomenon also works vice versa? What if we just took a song we already know by heart and do something useful with it? It's sitting in your brain already, so why not make it useful? So let's take Stairway to Heaven, for example, because it's sitting in my brain already, and in some of yours also, as we saw earlier. It's sitting in Anakin Skywalker's brain, allegedly. So let's find out if this knowledge can benefit us while we're doing software development. So now you understand the title of the talk, I guess. And the talk exists for simply one reason: to prove Padme wrong. Because we can be better software developers by knowing the lyrics to Stairway by heart. More on that later. Now that we know what this talk will be about, let's talk about I'm the one giving it. So my name is Hanno Embrechts. I'm an IT consultant at InfoSupport. I like software development, mostly Java development, and I like making music. They are my two favorite hobbies. And I do them both at the same time whenever I can, like in the picture I was playing at Delvox Belgium 2019, and the talk was called When Music and Software Come Together. Because most songs make me think about software development. When I'm programming and I'm calling a method called stop, my brain immediately fills up with hammer time. Can't touch this. when I'm listening to a customer explaining requirements to me, this is playing inside my head. Hey, slow it down. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? When I'm fixing a bug, this is playing inside my head. I will try to fix you. Yeah, most songs are about software development, at least according to me. Well, this means that Stairway to Heaven also makes me think about software development, which means I guess I'm the perfect person to explain to you how software development can influence our software, how Stairway to Heaven can influence our software development and the way we develop software. I even believe the song contains a few good lessons on it. Lessons that can make your next software project be a bit better. So let's keep track of these lessons by filling out this slide gradually. I'll repeat it each time we encounter something worth remembering for your next software project, okay? So let's dive into this. Now, interpretation of lyrics can be a tricky business. I think most of us here would agree that Stairway to Heaven is a pretty iconic rock song in its own right. However, its lyrics have caused countless debates over their meaning, which is why so many interpretations exist. We've got lyrics-related communities like songmeaning.net or lyricfind.com, and any internet user can use them to post their own interpretations and see whether their explanation gain any traction, which obviously eventually leads to this. Yeah, that's a very common problem, right, on the internet. I'm a diehard XKCD fan, so I always like to include the alt text. I hope you do too. I really hate it when people forget to include them. Don't leave because they'll keep being wrong. So interpretation of lyrics is a tricky business, and probably not a lot of people on the internet are going to agree with you. But I think we are allowed our own opinions. In fact, in an interview with the guitarist of Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, he was quoted as saying, "You can have your own interpretation of what this track is, what it implies, or even what it means to you. So we don't have to care how many people on the internet think we are wrong. Jimmy said it's okay." So we're doing this. Here we go. There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. When she gets there, she knows if the stores are all closed, with a word she can get what she came for. Ooh, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. So let's break it down here. The lady is our customer or our product owner, and she has a vision. All that glitters is gold. That's her business case, right? And she wants to realize her vision by buying herself a nice, shiny new software product. That's where we come in, obviously. And here is where we get our first customer needs, apparently. If the stores are all closed, does that mean high availability? Also, with a word she can get what she came for, that must mean speech recognition, right? Voice commands, artificial intelligence, the whole shebang. Well, actually, we can't be sure until we ask her, right? So if this was an actual software project, I would really like to verify these so-called customer needs. Ask things like, what does this mean when the stores are all closed? And is it true you actually want speech recognition? What are you trying to achieve? What is your end goal with that? In my experience, the customer's answers can often surprise you and lead to the conclusion that she needs something else than what she said she needed. And that's okay, because they need our good questions to verify the thing they need. So this is lesson number 1, verify the needs of the customer. There's a sign on the wall, but she wants to be sure, 'cause you know sometimes words have new meanings. In a tree by the brook, there's a songbird who sings. Sometimes all of our thoughts are misgiven. We're going to do a guitar switch here. Bear with me now. What makes me wonder? Oh, makes me wonder. So, this is very smart. The lady put the sign with the requirements on the wall. And sometimes words have two meanings, so she wants to make sure we stick to these requirements that were written down and the right interpretation of them. But you know how it goes, even written down requirements can be misunderstood or even a misremembered version of what the customer actually asked in the meeting. And we are smart software developers, right? So we know a thing or two about software features or user experience for that matter. So why wouldn't we just implement it the way we remember it? Well, your idea could be better, but talk to your customer first and let her make the call, whether it is better or not. Remember to be careful with assumptions. Interpreting requirements can be dangerous. By default, it's best not to assume anything, so spend some time verifying these requirements, your interpretation of them and any further assumptions you are tempted to do, and talk to your customer through it all. So this is lesson number 2, verify their requirements and your interpretation of them. Okay. We have to take a small break here, because I want to address a question. And I think some of you probably have been pondering this question ever since I started this talk. It has something to do with the movie Wayne's World. Who has seen Wayne's World? If you've seen it, you know where I'm going with this. But to refresh your memories, or if you haven't seen this part everyone remembers about the movie, even if you haven't seen it. Mamma mia, mamma mia, mamma mia, let me go. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me, for me, for me. Here goes. You can join in if you want. So you think you can stone me and spit in my eye? So you think you can love me and leave me to die? Oh, baby, yeah. Can't do this to me, baby. Just gotta get out, just gotta get right out of here. Yes, the head banging. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, so in the movie Wayne's World, the characters are headbanging to Bohemian Rhapsody while they're seated in the car. And the main character, Wayne, walks into a guitar store and picks up a guitar he's been wanting to buy for a while. And he starts plucking the strings, and do you know what happens? He is stopped by the guitar store employee, points at the sign, and Wayne goes, "No stairway, denied." And ever since the movie came out, playing Stairway in a guitar store is frowned upon, because it's a very popular song for guitar players who are just starting out, just like Smoke on the Water or Smells Like Teen Spirit. So here's the question: is it okay for me to play the song here on stage? Because everyone seems to be fed up with these practice songs, right? Now, if you think about the subject, if you're a guitar store employee, it makes perfect sense. You have to listen to the classics being butchered on a daily basis. Yeah. So I think I'm probably fine playing it out here as long as I'm not butchering it. Wouldn't you agree? So how am I doing so far? Yeah? Oh, thanks. Well, if you say so, let's continue then. I promise to do my very best not to butcher it. There's a feeling I get when I look to the west, and my spirit is crying for living. In my thoughts I have seen rings of smoke through the trees, and the voices of those who stand looking. Oh, it makes me wonder makes me wonder. Now, west is where the sun sets, so this has been a metaphor for death or things ending since Egyptian times, I think. So this part of the song is about loss, or about things ending, for that matter. From a perspective of our software project, it might fail, or it might even be cancelled. And rings of smoke can be a form of communication, right? So in this part of the song, this can only mean bad news. Those who stand looking can be the stakeholders, those who attend the sprint demos and hear that the project is maybe not doing so well currently, or perhaps they've heard the bad publicity outside of the sprint demos, which is arguably worse, of course. All of this makes us wonder, will this project ever succeed? Now, at the start of a project, you still have time to think about what can go wrong with this project and what you could do about it. So identify some risks on time and mitigate them. And also, every software project will encounter bad spells eventually and lead to a drop in confidence for the stakeholders, which is why it's so important to show them you are aware of the bad publicity, if there is any. So acknowledge any publicity, good or bad. Good publicity is very easy to acknowledge, as it makes you look good, and bad publicity is important to acknowledge, to show that you are aware of any risks or flaws, and to maybe give a sneak preview of how you intend to tackle these flaws. And it's whispered that soon, if we all call the tune, then the piper will lead us to reason. And a new day will dawn for those who stand long, and the forest will echo with laughter. If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alarmed now. It's just a sprinkling for the May. Yes, there are two paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. So we have to see how we can restore some of the confidence the stakeholder have lost. And it looks like there's someone who can improve things, an architect or a lead developer perhaps. He or she will lead us to reason, as we can see. Why this person has to play the bagpipes is beyond me. I haven't got the faintest clue. You can't expect me to be able to explain everything in these lyrics, right? It seems there's hope for this project after all. That's where we're heading. But how do we achieve it? Well, it looks like something is happening. Our hedgerows are bustling, which means they're shaking, they're moving. But this is good, though. This is our spring clean, which in our perspective means refactoring. Investing some time to clean up the code or to get to a better productivity in the future. And I hope you are all keeping track of your architectural decisions, maybe through architecture decision records. Each decision record should then also contain a list of alternatives and why they weren't chosen. Well, if circumstances change, like, oh, the project isn't going so well, we have a low confidence from the stakeholders, it could be a good idea to reconsider a few of these decisions and review the alternatives that you have set up. Perhaps there's an alternative that's a bit less ambitious, but that will do fine for the time being, for the short term. For example, if you're communicating through events, maybe switch to an in-memory event bus for now and upgrade it later to a production-ready event bus once the stakeholder confidence has been restored. Because the bottom line is, there's still time to change the road you're on. So include clean code in your definition of done. When stakeholders are complaining, my reflex response used to be deliver a lot of value in a very short amount of time to regain their trust, which is fine for the short term, but stakeholders will get used to your higher productivity very fast and be disappointed again when a less productive iteration comes along, and that will come along eventually. So try to invest in tomorrow's productivity to get the stakeholders on board for the long term. And it would be even better to make clean code part of your definition of done. So it's not a one-time fix, but something that you and your team does iteratively. And don't be afraid to revert an architectural decision. It sounds scary, but if you have a few alternatives ready, switching could still be doable and save you some time in the short term or some complexity. Don't decide right now what you can also decide later. Oh, and it makes me wonder. This time, we're wondering if the project will be finished in time. head is humming and it won't go. In case you don't know, the pipe is calling you to join. Dear lady, can you hear the wind blow? And did you know your stairway lies on the whispering wind? Is this the first time we tell our customer the product isn't doing so well? I surely hope not. If it is, then it's time to revisit lesson number 4 again. Acknowledge any publicity, good or bad, and make sure to do it in time. Yeah, it's solo time. Now, I'm not the best guitar player in the world. Singing is my main forte, so I'm going to do one rendition of it, and then we have to talk about the solo and about the quality of it. It's all very meta. You're going to love it. Yeah, here we go. Okay. I've practiced more of, well, that's very kind. Yeah, a pity applause. Yeah. So I've been a singer most of my life. I've done the acoustic guitar since I was 15, I guess, and I just started playing electric like 2 years ago. It was a COVID project, right? So I really have to get used to this string bending stuff. And I thought, oh, I can't submit this talk to Joy of Coding when I can't nail the solo, right? That's what I thought. Well, if you think about it, I took about 2 months to prepare for this talk, and I could have spent the better part of it learning and perfecting the solo. And then you would have been able to enjoy that perfect solo here today. But none of the other stuff would be there. Not the singing, not the memes, not the very accurate explaining of the lyrics. And I thought, I'm going to leave it here because it's the perfect analogy for a software project. We tend to focus on the most exciting stuff, and we try to deliver those few exciting bits in the best way we possibly can. But these few bits won't lead to any business value on their own. They need a lot of other stuff surrounding it to be able to deliver business value. You need those exciting bits. Sure, you need them, but they don't have to be perfect. And the solo didn't have to be perfect. Come to think of it, the talk is about explaining lyrics. The solo doesn't have any lyrics whatsoever. I rest my case. I don't have to play it entirely. So this is lesson number 7. A feature should just work. It doesn't need any frills. It doesn't need to be perfect. If it works, then great. Shift your focus to another feature. Make that one work. And while I was trying to learn play the solo, because I have spent some time of it, you can't hear it, but I have, it really struck me how fast it was supposed to be. Why is it so fast? Didn't the song start out really slow in the beginning? Well, yes, it did. But as it turns out, Stairway's tempo is not constant at all. There's a subtle increase in tempo throughout the entire song, and this is what Jimmy Page said on the subject. One of the cardinal rules for a studio musician was that you didn't speed up. And that's why Stairway has a constant acceleration to it, deliberately breaking the musical rules and traditions. I think it's the bad boy vibe here, right? Yeah, the rebel kind of thing. They want to be different. Well, actually, software projects are not supposed to speed up, but they do. Well, we'll get back to that. But if we look at the numbers, we will see that the guitarist is right, of course, because verse 1 is about 72 beats per minute. And when we arrived at the solo right here, it's 100 beats per minute, so it has increased constantly. So just like a software project in danger of not making its deadline, the song speeds up. And when a project's deadline approaches, all work that is done on it feels rushed. And more often than not, folks are doing overtime, just like I did overtime trying to learn this solo that I haven't learned anyway. I failed miserably. So the least we can do is learn from this. And if you rush your project and need overtime to finish it, it will probably not end the way you want it, not in the best way possible at least. Which brings us to lesson number 8, don't rush the project. Oh, I'm going to need a little warm-up for this one. And there's a wind down the road. Our shadows taller than our soul. There walks a lady still thirst for gold. And if you listen very hard, but to conquer you at last, when all the world and what is old, to be a rock, not to rule. And she's buying a stairway to heaven. She is still buying her stairway to heaven. After all that, means we've made it. Yeah, we did. So thank the customer for sticking with you until the end. It's very important to make a good final impression, because next time the lady needs a stairway, you want her to call you. So thank her for sticking with you. So here they are, folks. 9 reasons why your next software project can be better because of Stairway to Heaven, and we didn't even have to consider the backmasked version of the lyrics. Yeah, go figure. So here's the best thing actually about this list, because it's a boring list, let's be honest, and you don't even have to remember it. You just have to memorize the lyrics. And these tips will come to you naturally. So go forth and memorize the lyrics, because knowing the lyrics of Stairway to Heaven can and will make you a better software developer. Take that, Padme. I hope that was useful, folks. Thanks for listening. Have a great conference day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hanno. I can honestly say this is the first time ever I've gone to a software talk and want to go like this. So awesome. It is time for lunch now. So we will be back here in an hour. I would say get some good food, enjoy yourself, and I will see you back here in an hour.